Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Jeffrey Lyles back at you with another installment of Lyles Figure Files. The Hasbro Star Wars team broke down a bunch of new reveals on Wednesday's live stream, and I'm going to break down those reviews. I was a little bit curious about these because it wasn't a whole bunch of new releases, and it wasn't a lot of things that had me excited. It was more head scratching reveals that I was kind of like, you guys decided to go that route with this? So let's break them down and let's see what you guys thought. So first off, we got the latest installment in this retro line where Hasbro is showing us a little behind the scenes where they're showing what a prototype version would look like, where they're checking to make sure that the sculpt is perfect. So they have all these different colors just to make sure everything's the way it should look before they paint it properly. And we've got a Darth Vader, we've got a Boba Fett in this line already, but now we've got a Stormtrooper. And this one has a bunch of different colors. So if you want to have a rainbow selection of Stormtroopers, now you can get it with this series. Next up is the credit collection. And that's based on the credit sequences of The Mandalorian, where they kind of paint the characters a little bit different, where they take scenes from each episode and then just kind of bring it into this different light. Now, what Hasbro is doing is taking those color schemes from the credits and repainting the figures. Now, it's a pretty clever way to crank out some repaints on figures, but I think with this series, they're really pushing it because this is a series basically full of guys who you can still find on shelves in their original version. And I'm not so sure that putting them in this credit collection sequence is really going to do a whole lot different. So we've seen Grief Karga. Now we've got Quill. And like I said, I can go to basically any store and stumble onto these guys with no problem. Now these repaints are kind of cool, they're kind of interesting, but it's not something where I'd need to have in my collection. I think the Moff Gideon is kind of interesting just because of the blue setup with his outfit, so it's not the whole black thing. And it kind of looks neat, but again, do I really, really, really need it? And there's nothing else that's much different from the figure. But yeah, it's got some different paint shading, but again, I can find them on shelves. Now, if you're a big fan of this credit piece, all of these are individually sculpted, so each figure comes with a different sculpt. And that's cool if you want to build up a collection of them and trade with your friends, I suppose, if kids still do that. And next up is the armor, and she's in red, like a magenta color. She also comes with a jetpack. That's a unique feature to her. As you can see, it's basically the same figures we've got before. I think she's a little bit harder to find, so maybe for people who have struggled to get her, you can find her. Mandalorian has a few different shades of color here. It really reminds me of like a Jango Fett style, and I kind of feel like, that's probably not the repaint way they wanted to go. Even though if maybe you wanted to just come up with a different Mandalorian, you could just take the cape off, and he would look different enough that he could kind of flow in with a different kind of Mandalorian look. Like this figure is cool. I like the colors, but again, it really does remind me of Jango Fett. So that's that. And the thing is, of course, that because Gina Carano is apparently a terrible person, they're not going to make any more of her character from Mandalorian and Cara Dune. So it's kind of like she's a really integral part of both season 1 and season 2. And they're not going to find any creative ways to bring out any more new figures of her, which is a shame because it's like the fans of the show are the ones who are really getting screwed over in terms of getting more Cara Dune figures. And we will not have to worry about any problems with the Mandalorian. So the latest edition is the Mandalorian and Grogu. And this is from episode 2 of season 1. This is when he's fighting the Mudhorn, and he's caked in mud as he's losing this fight, trying to battle this guy. And then Grogu channels the Force and holds him up just long enough for Mandalorian to kill him. And you see the difference with this Grogu. He's got his eyes closed, he's focusing, he's using the Force, and Mandalorian finally takes him out. Now, Hasbro has some new techniques here with the paint to get that mud look on him. I think that could make for another interesting looking Mandalorian figure if you wanted to build up more Mandalorians, but that's really pushing it to get another figure out. But at least this has the pram, so you can carry your Grogu and have him chilling in it for a while if you don't want to have him walking around. which is a nice feature, but do you need another Mandalorian repaint for it? One cool addition that they put out that I really wish they would do for the Black Series, or also put up on Hasbro Pulse as an army builder, is a 334-inch vintage collection Stormtrooper pack. So you can build an actual army of Stormtroopers. They have 3 grunts and a leader that has the shoulder pauldron. It's red, so you can identify him clearly as the leader of this squad. So this is a pretty good idea. I'm always a big fan of ways to get army builders out there. I really kind of wish they had just gone straight up with a boring all 4 basic Stormtroopers. No need for a leader. Just put them all out there so everybody can have just 4 different Stormtroopers. But this is a good idea and something I wish they would incorporate into the 6-inch line as well. So for more vintage figures, we get Bib Fortuna. Really nice job on this guy. You see the cloth outfit, the really intricate sculpting. His tentacle part is semi-articulated, semi-flexible, so it's not a rigid piece that won't allow you to move anything out the way. He's got really good articulation, and he'll stand up really nice with your job and crew. And from the Mandalorian, we get IG-11. Also really nice looking figure. Great paint job. Got both guns, the harness. They're doing really good work with the 334th vintage collection line. And this is, of course, what I started with because I'm an old school Star Wars guy. I wish I was still kind of collecting them in a sense because they really packed in a lot of things for collectors of this old school line. Then we got Landon Calrissian from Empire Strikes Back. Got the cape, and he's got the blaster that he doesn't really use until after he's lost the cape. But again, this is a really nice sculpt on Billy D. Williams. Good articulation and just really well done all around. The new reveal here is Lobot. So you can put your 4 Stormtroopers, your Landon Calrissian, and Lando's top A Lobot right here. Again, he's got a gun that he doesn't really use, but for one quick moment. But this is him. I love the puffy sleeves, the great work on the head. He just looks amazing. I'm really hoping we see the 6-inch version of him very soon because this is a really nice figure. And then we've got Tebow. For half a second, I was going to try to find a Tim Tebow picture and throw it in there first. But I figured this is a cooler version because we got the Return of the Jedi, Ewok. And like all the Ewoks, those guys were killers of Stormtroopers. And, you know, they can't put up with so much articulation. But he looks really great. All that sculpting detail. He's got a ton of weapons. He's got his horn. And just that sculpt is really, really nice for that scale. And then it's even smaller because the Ewok needs to be sort of in scale with the other figures. But they did a great job with him. Really like the work on him. And then to wrap up, we've got the Emperor. And, oh yes, young Skywalker, you will die. So he's got a mean, fierce head sculpt. It's a little bit different than the Emperor and the Throne set that's also coming out. It's got his cane. He's mad. And he's got the pointing finger. And he's got the lightning effects as well. So you can just blast away at Luke as he's begging for Father to please help. And the cloth outfit here, definitely the way to go with the Emperor because you don't need a bunch of plastic restricting him being able to sit and moving around at all. So then for the Black Series archive reveals, we get the Emperor. And I just finally opened my Emperor and the Throne set, so I'm very happy to get this guy. But I'm also happy for everybody else that missed out on this guy because you've got to have the Emperor in your 6-inch collection. And the first version was terrible. It was one of those that made me go, nah, I don't need to get the 6-inch line anymore. I'll go to SHH Figure Arts because they're doing a much better job. But the Emperor was one of those figures that kind of brought me back. So I'm glad to see that people who missed out can get a chance to get him again. And we've also got Lando from his Jabba's Palace disguise, his bounty hunter look, C-3PO from Star Wars, and Dengar from Empire Strikes Back. From the Vintage Collection, Yoda, 501st Clone Trooper, a Mandalorian Death Watch Airborne Trooper, and Figurin Dan from the Cantina. But what's really getting me with these figures is their price is so insane now. So That Grief Karga figure, that's a repaint of a figure that's still on shelves right now, is $27. The Bib Fortuna figure is $14. Now I vividly remember way back in the Stone Age days buying Marvel Legend figures for $10. So the $13.99 for a 3/4 figure, even as well done as Bib Fortuna, is like, ugh. But $27 for a repaint, where basically the only new thing you're getting is that Imperial credit. That's whew. I'm wondering if we're reaching that point where collectors are going to start cashing their chips and credits out, ha ha ha, because it's just too much. Because I'm like, man, that's too much for a figure that I barely want in a repaint anyway, and I can still find in stores. So I'm curious to see how long these stay on shelves, and if we're going to see them go to drastic clearance prices at retailers, because the market just isn't there for that price. We're very curious to see how that plays out. So, WWE, Hasbro's line, Hasbro. I went really, really old school with that. Mattel's WWE line has Adam Cole slotted for a Elite 92 line. Only problem, Adam Cole is now all Elite, baby. This means that this figure, this slated for 92, Elite Series 92, we have not seen Elite Series 89 on shelves. So that's a few series away. And remember, the big controversy with this figure was, hey, we've got the regular edition in green, post Undisputed Era. And then we've got the one that finally matches the other four, the Roderick Strong, the Bobby Fish, the Kyle O'Reilly, that was in separate lines, separate waves, for whatever reason, from this TakeOver War Games. Now we got the one that finally matches and completes the set. But we may not get this figure because Cole is already showing up and he's been in AEW for a while. And I just felt like, man, this is really unfortunate. If only Mattel had experience with figures they wanted to get out but weren't able to because they went to AEW after they kind of dragged their feet on getting a figure out. And I was like, oh, right. There was this Sting figure from Legends Series 7. And this figure I wanted so bad. This is the Sting that I've always wanted. We've seen all these long-haired versions of Sting, but I really wanted this first version Crow because it didn't have the big eyeshadow. It just had those small slits, the shorter hair sculpt. And it was just like, this was the Sting I wanted. And we didn't get it because WWE, Mattel, took a little bit too long to get this figure out. And now we got the same thing with this Adam Cole. So we may not ever get this guy. And hopefully that's not the case. Hopefully we do see him. But it would be a real shame not to get that Cole to match up with the three other figures, because that would just be poor planning. And something as AEW becomes more of a force, Mattel's going to need to be more aware of in terms of getting figures out there. And we've seen this happen already with the Dudley Boys. We've seen it happen with Hulk Hogan. We've seen it happen with Kurt Angle, Chris Jericho, Matt Hardy. I mean, this is enough of a pattern now where it's like, all right, don't mess around. If there's a matching figure, if there's a complimentary tag team guy, get them all out while you still have them under the license. So Mattel, hopefully this is a wake-up call yet again to not delay on figures, to not delay on looks on things that you set up. Because this all could have been avoided with Roderick Strong that was just in black. And we didn't need the camo War Games unless it was in a box set where you get them all at once. So, rant over on that. So the last reveal for today is, I guess, our first teaser for Marvel's live stream on Monday, where we got a Symbiote Spider-Man in black. And this is another version because I know no one has ever seen a Symbiote Spider-Man in black. This is based off of a new mold again, butterfly shoulders, still has pins. So if you're waiting for another one, I bet in 2023 we'll see the pinless version of Symbiote Spider-Man. So I kind of feel like, this one's not worth getting because there's going to be a better one that's coming soon. But it looks pretty good. I don't really see a huge difference from the one that I have. It's not quite enough to make me go, I need to get this one right now. You see that it's based off of the new 80th retro Spider-Man version. So it's got that top torso. It's got the torso joint No waist articulation, but you don't really miss it that much as you're posing him around. It's got the biceps, double jointed elbows, of course, and it flows really well on that other Spider-Man. But I feel like I kind of wanted a pinless joints because you know that's coming at some point. So we'll see how that works out. I, of course, will be back on Monday very shortly after the live stream from Marvel because I want to see what all the kinds of stuff we've got. Probably not a Banshee figure, but hopefully they have some other cool reveals. Maybe some more X-Force figures, maybe some more X-Factor figures, maybe a few more Fantastic Four guys coming up. So stay tuned. Thank you for watching. Hope you all are having a great weekend. This episode of Lyle's Figure Files has been filed.